Imagine you are on a cruise with your family, enjoying a dream vacation when your daughter disappears in the middle of the night and is nowhere to be found. When the Rhapsody of the Seas cruise docked in Curacao before it was set to arrive in. Meanwhile, a family frantically looks for their daughter who went missing in the early morning hours of that day. She was last seen with a shady man, and what followed this day was almost 30 years of despair, possible sightings, and trafficking theories. Hi, if you are new here, I discuss true crime, paranormal phenomena, cults, and history. Please like and subscribe. Hype the video. You can also tip me on Ko-fi, so eventually I can do this full time. Without further ado, let's get into today's case. Today I'm discussing the disappearance of Amy Bradley, who was a 23-year-old woman who vanished under suspicious circumstances while on the cruise with her family. She was last seen by her family in their cabin in the early morning. She was seen over the years speculating in trafficking theories. This is her story. Amy Lynn Bradley was born on May 12, 1974, to parents Ron and Iva Bradley in Petersburg, Virginia. The couple worked as insurance agents for the Illinois Mutual Company. When she was 2, the couple welcomed a boy named Brad. Given their close age, they had a very close bond. Amy and Brad were raised in Chesterfield, 25 miles from Richmond. Iva described her daughter as energetic and a fireball, but also as outgoing and kind. Iva remembers they were out to dinner when Amy noticed a Vietnam veteran eating alone. She ended up inviting them to dine with her and her family. She was known to always do considerate things like that. Amy went to high school at Lloyd C. Bird High School. After graduating, she attended college at Longwood University. She was a very active young woman, majoring in physical education and receiving a scholarship through basketball. She also worked as a lifeguard and was a very strong swimmer. Amy being a strong swimmer is something that is an important fact that comes into play when she disappears. During her junior year of college, Amy came out to her friend and roommate that she is a lesbian and was seeing another student named Kat. She asked her friend to accompany her when she told her parents. I guess she was a little worried that they would be disappointed. Unfortunately, her fears were realized when they allegedly said that they were disappointed in her. Look, I do not agree with that mindset, but it was an adjustment, especially since it was the mid-90s, but ultimately, they accepted her sexuality. It has been reported that she had a boyfriend. I believe the family said significant other because they did not want the case to focus on her identity, which in 1998, it would have. Now, both Amy and Kat had boyfriends. They kind of had like the female version of beards. I'm not sure what it's called with lesbians, but so they came off as straight because, again, it was a different time. Brad had said that Amy was actually bisexual, but Kat said that she was a lesbian, just dated boys to keep it a secret. The only person that can say for sure is missing. Ron apparently wrote Kat a letter saying that he was disappointed in Amy and defends his choice to this day. But he loved her and it was her life, so he accepted her. Iva seemed to care more about how the world would treat her. Friends said that she liked to drink a lot, and Kat thought it was to deal with her parents' resistance to her sexuality. This happens sometimes when people are going through heavy stuff. Now, I'm not saying this to bash the Bradleys. I acknowledge that it was a different time, and it was probably shocking for them. They did not get time to adjust and learn. They may have come around more, but their focus has been on searching for their child, not worrying about her sexuality. So while it is not something I would do, I can still be sympathetic for them. In 1996, she graduated from college and her parents gifted her an English bulldog, which she named Bailey. In 1997, she moved into a new apartment and worked at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. By this time, her relationship must have ended with Kat because she began dating a childhood friend named Molly. They reconnected after graduating college. They went out, danced, and sparks flew. The only complication was that Molly accepted a photographer job in Kentucky. They decided to try long-distance dating, and Amy would visit on the weekends. Things were going really great. Molly remembers starting to fall in love with Amy. Unfortunately, Amy went on a night out, kissed someone, but came clean to Molly. Molly, of course, was hurt and needed time to deal with it. She stopped talking to Amy, basically, which hurt Amy, and she tried to win her back. Now, there were rumors that it was a guy, possibly to make sure she was really gay, but that is not known for fact. She was deciding whether to continue school for her master's in sports psychology or open her own sports bar In the meantime, she was offered a job at her aunt's computer consultant firm as a marketing assistant. She was excited about life, and at this point, especially for this new job, and also going to adopt a second English bulldog named Daisy. According to a family friend named Erin, the family was close-knit and very happy. In 1998, Amy's parents called her to tell her that her father had won a work contest for his yearly sales from Illinois Mutual Life. The company rewarded the couple with a week-long, all-expenses-paid Caribbean cruise for this accomplishment. As their awesome parents, the couple wanted to share it with Amy and Brad, and paid for their airfare, cruise, and expenses. The cruise was set to depart from San Juan, Puerto Rico, stopping in Aruba and Curacao, St. Martin, St. Thomas, and then returning back to Puerto Rico. The cruise departed on March 21st and was expected to return on March 28th. Despite having a lifeguard background and being a strong swimmer, she felt apprehensive about the cruise. Her family thought that this was weird given her experience, but I mean, it is one thing to swim in a pool or a lake. Many people fear the ocean. The thought of dark waters rushing below you, not knowing what creatures lurk, is terrifying. I know because I have this fear. Amy faced her fears though, and ultimately joined the family. Leading up to the cruise, she dyed her hair, did her nails, and tanned to prepare for the cruise. She showed off her new look for dinner the night of March 20th to her mom and aunt. She was able to reconnect with Molly before the trip, and Molly actually visited Amy to see her new apartment and dog Bailey. They planned that when Amy returned to spend Easter together, which fell on April 12th that year. This is where discrepancies come from because Brad, Amy's brother, claimed that she dated a man named Tom and even met his family. According to him, she wrote a letter saying how much she enjoyed meeting his family, but expressed taking it slow. If true, it could mean she was stuck between her true self and who her family and society expected her to be. The next day, Amy and Brad flew to San Juan from Richmond International Airport to meet her parent, who had left an hour earlier on an earlier flight. At the port, she was already having a blast, shopping for postcards to send back home and camera film to take pictures, as she planned on using the photographs she took to create a collage for her coffee table. Soon the family boarded the Rhapsody of the Seas cruise ship. At the time of the case, it was the second largest cruise ship in the world, measuring 11 stories high, 915 feet long, and 106 feet wide, and weighing 75,000 tons. So it was a massive ship. The capacity was able to carry over 3,000 people, including over 700 crew members. The ship was lined with glass, allowing passengers to see the sea from many directions. It completed its maiden voyage only 10 months earlier, making it a pretty new ship. The Bradleys stayed on the 8th floor, where they all stayed in one room. This is because they only got one room. The room had a private balcony with a table and chairs. They had dinner together and enjoyed some drinks by the pool. The family remembers that Amy avoided the edges of the boat, saying that she is terrified of heights. This is something that will be important in the theories part of this case. The next day, on March 22nd, Amy and Iva attended an art auction. The boat docked in Aruba on the morning of March 23rd. Aruba is an island near Venezuela. They took a photo on the ship, then while it was docked, they rented a jeep to explore the island. They wanted to return to the boat and changed into formal wear to have dinner together. Amy and Brad returned to their room to change clothes and grab money for the casino while their parents got drinks with Ron's business associate. Iva noticed that the waiter was paying too much attention to Amy. When they asked the waiter about this, he said that he and other waiters wanted to take her to Carlos and Charlie's bar. Ron thought this was peculiar. When Iva went to pick up pictures taken by the ship's photographer, all the ones with Amy were missing. When they asked the photographer, he was sure he displayed them alongside other pictures, which is suspicious. After Amy and Bradley were done, they met up with Ron and Iva. They told Amy about the men wanting to take her out, and she dismissed them as creepy, and she said she would not go anywhere with them. The family continued to have fun, spending time together. They decided to have drinks and listen to the ship's band, Blue Orchid, which will also come into play later in the case. At one point, Brad was dancing with a woman who turned out to be married, but when her husband got into his face and confronted Brad, he apologized to the husband and said he did not know she was married. Back to Amy, she spent that night talking with members of the band, mostly the bassist, Alistair Douglas, who went by Yellow. He was described as a heavy-set man, lived in a nearby Caribbean city. Iva did not think very highly of him. In fact, she thought he was trouble. You may be asking yourself, what did Amy think about this guy? She thought he was a real jerk, according to her brother. Iva and Ron decided to call it a night, so they returned to their cabins and went to bed after kissing their kids goodnight and going on their way. Around this time, Brad claims that Amy was talking to two women, who he believed to be members of Scientology, but police never found proof of this. Amy and Brad then headed to the Viking Lounge, a dance club on the cruise, where Amy was recorded dancing with Yellow, very closely with him, while he was holding one of her hands. It is possible she called him a jerk, because she knew her mom would not be happy if she was interested. Was being nice. Also, I know people who just, when they go out to dance bars, they just dance with people. It doesn't mean anything. In any case, they parted their ways and he left for the staff elevators around 1 a.m. and he said he never saw her after that. Around 2:45 a.m., Ron woke up to see that the kids were still gone, so he went to the nightclub to check on them. He saw Brad dancing with a group of women and Amy talking to the band and DJ. He returned to the room thinking they would turn in shortly. According to the electronic lock system, Brad returned at 3:35 and Amy returned at 3:40. They went out to the balcony to smoke and talk. Brad said that Amy said that she needed to buy more cigarettes and carousel. Amy did tell Brad that that Yellow guy tried to get touchy with her, but she put a stop to it. She was a little annoyed, but nothing more really. This according to Brad, of course. Ron woke up and just asked them to turn off the bathroom light. Around 4 a.m., Brad went to bed, but Amy stayed outside and got fresh air due to motion sickness. Ron confirmed that she was still there at 5:30 a.m. because he saw her legs from the hips down in the lounge chair and assumed she had fallen asleep. Around this time, the ship entered the inland channel to Port Wilstead on Carousel. He then went back to sleep until the ship docked at 6 a.m. At this time, she was gone. The sliding door was halfway open, along with her cigarettes and lighters, and changed from shorts to jeans. She took off barefoot because all of her shoes were left behind, meaning that she probably meant to come right back. The yellow polo that she was wearing was on the back of the chair inside the room. She also left her driver's license and ID card. She left the door cracked about 12 to 14 inches, again affirming that she was planning on being right back. Amy was never the type of person just to leave without telling anyone, but Ron thought maybe she just needed coffee or something. Ron checked the lounge area but could not find her. 2 college students claimed to have seen Amy enter the elevator with Yellow to go towards the dance club around 6 a.m. They saw Yellow leave 15 minutes later to leave without her. Someone else allegedly saw him buy Amy a dark-colored drink around the same time. Ron was searching frantically, with no signs of his daughter. Around 7 a.m., he had the unfortunate task of telling Iva that their daughter was missing. They went straight to the office of the head administrator, Brent Hunter, to report her disappearance, thinking that they would take it seriously. Instead of making some sort of announcement over the loudspeaker, they said it was too early and they did not want to disturb the other guests. After they bugged the crap out of them, they finally made a call for Amy to come to the administrative desk at 7:50 a.m. Now at this time, they were preparing to allow passengers to disembark into town, but Iva and Ron pleaded with them not to do this so they could hopefully find Amy before someone could sneak her off. The cruise, however, refused the request. They said that just because a girl was missing, they could not just stop all the guests from leaving. But she was just not a girl. She was someone's daughter, someone's sister, a human, someone that could be in danger. while his parents were dealing with the higher-ups to see if Amy was by the pool. This is when he saw Yellow, who apologized for what happened and that he felt guilty. This made him feel weird, which is fair. At this point, Amy was just called to the desk. They never even said lost. Very suspicious, if you ask me. The family was asked to wait in their room, and finally around 9 a.m., Officer Lou Costello visited them after a while. He asked questions about Amy and requested a picture to look for her. It should be noted that they said his breath reeked of bourbon. From 12:15 to 1 p.m., he searched the common and crew areas, but not the passenger rooms. Then they returned to the family, saying that they had searched the whole ship, but could not find Amy. The family wanted an announcement about Amy's disappearance to go over the loudspeaker and flyers to be dispersed, but the captain refused. The investigators did speak with Yellow around 6 a.m. and asked him if he had a girl with him in his room, according to the documentary on Netflix called Amy Bradley is Missing. It is fair to say that Yellow was a suspicious guy, even if crew refused to admit that. At 5:30 p.m., tired of doing nothing, the family disembarked the ship and decided to search Curacao. The boat was leaving in an hour, so they decided to stay on the island. They were joined by the president of the company, Mike McCord, who paid the cost of a hotel. Ron was so distraught that he began to vomit blood. He could not believe that this was actually happening to them. On March 25th, 24 hours after her disappearance, Curacao authorities began air and sea search missions using radar planes, helicopters, warships, cargo ships, and fishing boats. They contacted the FBI, then returned to the ship on the next stop in St. Martin on March 26th at 7:30 a.m. They demanded that they allow the FBI to search. Since they are on international waters, the ship does not have to cooperate with the authorities. Luckily, they allowed 2 agents to search with the help of dogs and to pass out posters on March 27th. That same day, on March 27th, the family was devastated and made the difficult decision to return home to Richmond, Virginia, but they never gave up the fight. Unfortunately, 2 days later, on March 29th, authorities in Curacao ended their search because there was no sign of Amy. Iva made a website to put information out there. Iva pleaded with them to release Amy, blindfolded, and they would ask no questions. A month after returning home, they returned to Curacao to resume their search in April 1998. A taxi driver told them that he had seen a distraught Amy looking for a payphone. This allegedly happened on March 24th, the day she went missing. He pointed her to the direction of the nearest payphone. Brett thought he also heard her yelling his name, and the family looked around because it sounded like it was from a vehicle. It could be her because it was the last place she was seen, but sometimes when you're looking for something, you see or hear what you want to. You hear about mothers who lose their children, and they will hear and see them everywhere. Well, when they were about to fly back, Iva received a phone call saying that they found a body and thought it might be Amy. They were sick to their stomachs, but it turned out it belonged to a man. They were becoming increasingly frustrated with the FBI's efforts. The Bradleys sued Royal Caribbean in 1999, but it was dismissed because it was ruled that they acted appropriately, which is bull, but, whatever. In August 1998, they were contacted by a Canadian named David Carmichael who visited a beach in Curacao called Playa Porto Mari. He saw who he now thinks was Amy walking with 2 men on the beach, and when she tried to speak with him in English and walked towards him, they became aggressive and whisked her away to a cafe nearby. He noticed she glanced at him often, but he did not think much of it. He did not know who Amy was until later, so he never reported it immediately. He recognized her face, tattoos, and especially the Taz tattoo on her shoulder blade. When he was watching Unsolved Mysteries, he met with the family multiple times. In 1999, a Navy petty officer saw her in a brothel in Curacao. He waited to report the sighting for obvious reasons. You cannot really go to a brothel when you are supposed to be an upstanding soldier. She begged him for help, and he said that his ship was outside. She cried, and she said she could not leave, so he just left and told no one. He could have helped, but he did nothing. He's supposed to be a hero, yet he chooses to be a coward. Sorry, not sorry. The family also received an email from a Navy SEAL saying that a cook in Curacao identified Amy by her tattoos and a lullaby she was singing. He claimed that she was being held in a compound where trafficked women were being held. Guarded by Colombian guards, he sent men to find Amy. He gave them updates in the next few months. He said he sent men to rescue Amy, and the family even sent him money to fund his search. They asked for a picture of Amy to prove she was still alive. He sent them a picture and informed them that he needed more money. They sent more money and flew to Florida as he asked. A week later, Tim, a former Army sniper, was hired to watch the house where Amy was being held. Tim called the Bradleys to tell them the unfortunate news that Amy was not at the house and Frank was scamming them. He paid the cook to lie to the family about seeing her. Another of Frank's associates admitted that they staged the proof of life. Frank Jones was charged $24,000 for fraud by the Bradleys and an additional $186,000 for fraud by the Missing Children's Organization. He has never paid and probably never will. He pled guilty to mail fraud and served 5 years in prison. A woman was in a clothing store restroom in Barbados when she saw a woman who looked like Amy. Amy was with 3 men who said that she needed to go through with a deal. They threatened her before leaving the restroom. The witness approached the visibly upset lady. She told her that her name was Amy. This is when the men came back and pulled her out of the bathroom. The FBI got a sketch of these men and alleged Amy. At the very least, the woman was some sort of victim. In 2015, the family received a possible picture of Amy. Now, this picture is pretty well known and honestly heart-wrenching, if real, because it could be proof of victimization. The email came from a center that matched women with escorts to cases of missing persons. The woman in the photo was named Jazz or Jazz. She appeared to be a sex worker in the Caribbean, which checked with where she went missing. The FBI could not identify her, but forensic analysts said that this woman could be Amy. With weight loss and hair growth, she looked similar to Amy. The authorities initially thought that Amy had accidentally or purposely gone overboard at 5:30 a.m. This was discredited as her body was never found. I doubt she drowned because she never got close enough to the railing and was a strong swimmer. The theory claims that because she was drinking, maybe she became sick and fell, but the family stated that the shore was close. She could have swam close to shore. As for the self-harm theory, it makes no sense. She was planning for things after the trip. She was excited about life. Why would she unalive herself on a whim, out of nowhere, when she has no history of that? She also grabbed clothes, cigarettes, and money. She would have had no use for that if she was going to end her life. Also, she was planning to get more cigarettes the next day. Most people are going to end their lives. They don't make plans, and she had plans when she got back with her girlfriend and all that. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Obviously, anything is possible, but I'm personally skeptical about this one. The leading theory, and the one the family believes, is that Amy was kidnapped and sold into sex trafficking. The main suspect is Yellow, who has been seen with Amy many times, and it seems like he was the last official person to see her. Because he was an employee, the FBI searched his room along with his bandmates' rooms and questioned them. He was given a polygraph and everything, the whole shebang. When he was finished with the agents, Ron saw him smile at the band and give a thumbs up. This entire thing is suspicious as hell. Now, he passed the polygraph, and this is mainly because the agents did not see the footage, so they did not know that they spent so much time together. Basically, this could have allowed him to downplay his interactions with her. Also, a polygraph is not credible in court, so it can be faked or give false results, especially if you know empathy. It is believed that the waiters who showed interest in her could be involved. Yellow's daughter did leave a message for the Bradleys saying her dad went away for the cruise and came back different. He would be irritable. She found pictures in his suitcase of different Caucasian women. She asked about Amy later, and he just claimed he had pictures with different women and got defensive. She is convinced he at least knows more than what he is saying. There was another theory that maybe she saw something illegal. She was murdered and thrown overboard. The only evidence of a body was a jawbone found in 2010, thought to be that of Natalie Holloway, and testing was ceased. On March 24th, 2010, Amy Lynn Bradley was sadly declared deceased. Even with this declaration, the family still holds out hope. There is a website where the family posts updates. I talked about it earlier. They post any possible sightings, pictures. You could just tell that they hold out so much hope. They post messages directed to Amy about her dogs, car, and family. It is just heartbreaking. There's a section titled New Information. It talks about credible information received, so I hope that I will be updating this soon. Iva wears a yellow ribbon and angel daily for Amy. The FBI is offering a reward of up to $25,000 for information leading to the recovery of Amy Lynn Bradley and the information that leads to the identification, arrest, and conviction of the people responsible for her disappearance. As of August 2026, Amy is 52 years old. She should be celebrating being a wife, mom, and possibly a grandmother at this point. Hopefully 2026 is the year we finally bring her back home to Virginia. Amy is 5'6" and weighed 120 pounds at the time of her disappearance, but may weigh less if she is not being taken care of. She also has green eyes and short brown hair, but then again, the hair could have changed over time, especially if she was sex trafficked and is that girl in the photo. She could have longer hair, she could have short hair, she could have dyed hair, it could be red, it could be, there's so many options. She is Caucasian, she has 4 tattoos, a Tasmanian devil on her shoulder, a sun on her lower back, a Chinese symbol on her right ankle, and a gecko on her navel. And she also has a navel piercing. This is a case that still haunts me, as open waters freak me out. It is terrifying how you could just disappear and never see your family again. The theory I believe in most is the sex trafficking one. The others are just stupid in my opinion. Yellow is just sketchy as crap. I saw he's a pastor now, which screams feeling guilty about something, in his case, not all pastors obviously. I hope it keeps him up at night. I feel hopeful that she will come home though. My ongoing theory is that someone, perhaps Yellow, was the guy who found the women for the operation. That would explain why Amy's pictures were missing and why he had all those pictures of women. He was looking for victims. He would then lure them out to traffic them. Of course, all of this is alleged and everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. This is just my personal opinion. I think she could be out there, but I know the longer time gets, the older she gets, it does not look great. I think the good thing is that Amy stayed close to her brother most of the time. I did wonder if at some point she got drugged. How else would they get her off the boat without a fight? I mean, I guess they could have had a weapon. There's all sorts of ifs. But assuming that the drugging is the case, there are ways to test beverages to see if anything has been added to it before you drink. I don't think they had them back then, but now there's these straws, so that's something that we should all carry with us if we're gonna go out drinking. Other than that, I do not have much advice to add without knowing the truth of what happened. Security seems to have been approved on cruises, so I think that would be the only other thing. Thank you for listening to Amy Bradley's case with me today. What do you think happened to Amy? I want to know your opinion, but please be respectful. If you're a judgmental dick, you'll be removed and blocked. Comment, subscribe, and like. If you have any future cases you would like me to cover, please request a case using my form in the description, or you could just put them in the comments and I read all my comments. Join me on Wicked Wednesday when I talk about the murder of a mother out of England. Stay curious, cautious, and safe. Okay, bye.